I'm sensitive to these things.
What's this for? I guess that's the air, the heating and air.
Yeah.
When it gets hot, they turn the AC on.
Well, no, this is the eject button for.
You're right.
It's the longest minute in the world.
It's now it's 6.
It is. I'll let these folks get in.
Yeah.
Well, good evening, everyone. It's now 6 p.m., so we'll go ahead and start our meeting. And first and foremost, I'll ask that we stand, and I'll have a pledge, an invocation and a pledge. If we'll bow in an attitude of prayer. Gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for this time in Williamsport this evening. Thank you for Town Council and the mayor and the citizens of Williamsport for their lovely town. Watch over them, protect them, guide them, we pray. As like this morning, Heavenly Father, we pray for the families and the victims of the tragic accident in the Port of Baltimore as they continue to search for rescue and possible survivors, whatever that may be. We just continue to lift up the first responders and all the hard work that's taking place there. And again, our hearts and our thoughts and our prayers go to the loved ones and the families of those that are missing. Lead, guide, and direct us here this evening, Lord, we pray in thy precious name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll officially call our meeting to order. And I'd like to turn it over to the town of Williamsport, the mayor and council, for your comments, reports, and anything you want to bring before us.
Well, I guess on our end, I just want to thank you guys for all your support, everything you've been working with us on, especially with the bathing situation we're in. The only thing I really have for a comment would be if there was an update on the library and anything going on there, share that with us.
Okay.
So it appears there's been no update from the potential land that was going to be donated. So at this point, we would prefer to have this come back as an agenda item at a regular meeting so that we can talk with staff and talk with the library regarding the potential future site that would be considered for the library, or if the existing site is more appropriate. We do have staff from the library here today, and they provided additional updates here to the recent closure and reopening of the library and the work that's been done to bring the library back up to standards so that we can reopen it back to the public. So I open it up to Jenny, see if you have anything to add. Sure. So we reopened to to the public on 20th. So it's been a great success. We thank the town and the county for their support in order to do the remediation that was necessary to make sure that the library was safe both for patrons and staff. As far as moving into a new space, we are still at a bit of a standstill with potential donors. But I do believe that we're going to be meeting with Chad specifically, hopefully Mayor Kuby as well, to talk about any other opportunities and options that we may have to explore.
Town council members, please.
Well, we gotta get excitement going here somewhere.
Yeah. We're grateful of the opportunity to be here tonight and have a joint meeting together and share thoughts and ideas. So if there's no other comments or requests or thoughts from Williamsport Town Council members, I'm going to turn it over to the commissioners. And Commissioner Klein, you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. I did do off 2
some highlights I did attend the booths for EMS banquet. I had the honor of swearing in their officers. That was very nice to do that. It's quite an honor. And I also attended Halfway Fire Company's 75th anniversary. And this past Saturday, I did participate in the 1 mile run at the Run Fest that the county did in conjunction with Taylor's Channel. I thank all who participated. Parks Rec Director Jamie Dick said there was 835 people who participated. Brought a lot of people. Everybody brought a guest. There were 1,000 plus people in downtown Hagerstown. I saw them enjoying the crowd and bulls and bears and eating hot dogs and having a great time. So I want to thank our staff who was involved in that. Last night, twice in 24 hours, I was there. We were at the MML meeting last night, and I believe our county administrator did update on some of the 250th anniversary stuff. But more importantly, I moved out of Williamsport not quite 2 years ago. I may have a new address, but my heart is still in this town for having this tonight.
Thank you. Motion, Commissioner Harvey?
Well, thanks for having us here tonight. It's good to see some friends and our staff that is here, and appreciate always our staff showing up. I'm not going to test myself by going through all the.
Oh, let's go through the names. Come on.
Hey, Macy, how are you doing? Okay. So,
If you didn't know, Harvey screwed the names up last evening meeting. So
yeah, in
Yeah, so-
Punkstown. So, but I do appreciate the leadership that the council, Mayor Bill Green, are providing here, and I always enjoy hearing what's going on here when I talk to Bill and when I see him at events. Just a comment, personal comment, I know everyone's got kids in sports and stuff, but, Asher's at practice tonight for baseball, and Ellie's at her first softball practice for the season. So, I'm here because, my wife's taking care of those duties tonight. So my question is sort of, I'm not going to talk about things we've been doing, but what do you need? I understand EMS was converted to the county, I think to March. And when I could get some feedback from anybody about how you're perceiving it here, or maybe if you haven't seen or noticed anything different, that's good news too. Second, the county does provide some policing partnership in this area, and I think Brian might be able to address that, but I'd like to understand just how this community is thinking about policing. And thirdly, just a question on the library. I know the issue on the library was focused on, maybe getting some land, and we had some good briefings from the library staff on that. I'm just wondering if you have looked at the possibility of purchasing a home adjacent to the current library or a land there, and how that might work out, if it's even possible, at the current library site. And those are my sort of 3 questions, and I hope that prompts some input from folks in the community.
I'm happy to respond first. So thank you, Commissioner Harvey. We're still in negotiations with potential landowners. And so in the event that potential donation does not work out, like I said, Town Manager Rooney and Bill and I will be having some regular meetings to come up with an alternative plan. That may be one of those alternative plans. It's just too soon to know what those alternative plans will be.
Because when we were briefed on it, you needed additional land, and I just, and I drove by there and I looked at it and I thought, well, maybe there's a possibility of getting the additional land there at a reasonably good price too.
Right.
So,
That's entirely possible.
and then any comments on EMS?
Yeah, not on EMS, may I comment on the library? My name is Margaret Goff, gaming account person here. From a perspective of someone who lives here in the town, I think that it's important to many of us, perhaps not important enough to tilt the scales of the decision, but we wanted her to keep that library in the downtown core. In easy walking distance from our community in the downtown. And one of the reasons for that is that we have a lot of people who don't have cars. We are a community that has a significant poverty, below the poverty line population. Those kids need to have a way to be able to get to the library on foot. We also sort of have a traditional downtown, where kids travel on bikes and people are on foot. To keep it in the town, that's one reason for keeping it into the downtown. And another is it's as a historic site, it's a really important building to us, whether a library or whatever, what it could serve for, it could serve in the future. But really just the sense of a library being a hub for a town. So to be keeping that in mind as we're making decisions. I know that there are pragmatic decisions, and that is might be seen as sort of an aesthetic and social decision.
Well, if I may, just from my personal perspective, in any way you can find to integrate in a design, protecting the tradition and the history at the same time as you modernize around it. Okay. And, I have a 200-year-old house and I did an addition to make it more modern, but, I kept the core of the old 200-year-old stone house there, and it's very traditional. So maybe the library staff, I'm sure you've heard all that before.
We have, and I can comment a little bit on. Yeah,
Oh,
I
before
think- Yeah, I'm so
Is the library still, I understood this library was the #1 used library for.
It's one of the top used outside of the Hagerstown brand.
Okay.
As far as what we consider the county branch libraries, so outside of Hagerstown, it is one of the top used. Which is why we were looking at a larger footprint for the facility to make it so it's a library that the community deserves to have, which is a much larger space. Part of the issue that we discussed when we were talking about remodeling the current space was around the 100-year floodplain, around restrictions that the state would have in regards to remodeling the current space. And so a big part of this project is that we would be reliant on a 70% match from the state in order to get this construction complete. And while I've had unofficial conversations, that they do feel pretty strongly that it would need to be in most likely a different space than it currently.
I want to add to this conversation. No disrespect, it's not refurbishing an old house. This is 14 souls who lost their life. And I know you're gonna do your best to consider what it's
Definitely
destroy this. But you read the book of Rock Tragedy at Rockville and read how these people in this town went from house to house viewing the death of each one of those kids, and the story of the phone taker at night and people huddling around waiting for the call. People drove down to Rockville and found their child there dead. So there's a lot of emotion, and the care should be given to the history of that building. It's more than a library. It's more than a building. It's a monument, testament to the commitment of this community to keep its promise to those who perished in that. I don't mean to be so emotional, but I worked at that desk in the 4th and 5th grade, sharing encyclopedia, World Book encyclopedias, doing homework there with other students. And that was in 1965. That event only 30 years old, and it's still fresh in the mind of the librarians, and it's still fresh in my mind today. So any consideration with your plans will have to either keep that building intact or near there, or if you do decide, or we decide on a new location, a tribute to that incident will have to happen. That building will have to be maintained.
100%, Commissioner Vaughn, 100%.
If not, I'll change myself to the.
100%. I mean, we understand how delicate it is. It's definitely not the intention of any new space.
But no disrespect.
It's to respect the memory of everything. It's
Old folks are,
I
know about that.
totally understand. It's a really delicate situation. And we're trying to take it with as much, treat it with as much dignity as it deserves to have. So
It's one of the reasons why I stated my heart's still in this town. It's very, very important to all of us that we get this right. This town deserves a new library. So does the kids. And I appreciate the thought. This is a traditional downtown. The kids ride their bikes and walk around. I've seen many kids walk to from that library, and one of them was me growing up. Thank you.
Bill, do you have a comment on the policing?
I was gonna say, that Will's here for the EMS. I've noticed no difference in it at all. It's always been top notch with Will.
So just so the citizens that are watching and that are here from the town, about 18 months ago, we began conversation with the county about absorbing our career staff. We've had career staff prior to our merger, the EMS service, Williamsport ambulance that was just down the street here on Salisbury Street, and the fire company merged in 2008. bringing all their career staff in that model of providing that service through a combination model of career and volunteers working together to provide that service to the citizens. With ever demands on that emergency services delivery model, it became very apparent that we needed to have a different approach to this. And as the counties began to grow, we were able to take advantage of the commissioners' good graces and our collective workings with the Division of Emergency Services to formulate a merger. So all of our career staff that chose to transition to the county into full-time staffing were merged over. And that provides them a lot greater benefits than what we could offer. We tried our very best to always offer the very best, benefits and pay, but they'll be a much better position. So since the 2nd of March, the only difference is the uniform they wear. It's still Williamsport's ambulances. We still own the ambulances. We still are replacing the ambulances. We still own the equipment, and our volunteers are still taking calls, particularly what we call second alerts or even third alerts. And that just last night, we had multiple ambulance calls going on, and the career staff were out on one call, and our volunteers had another one, just right here in town on a burn patient here on Conicajig Street. So there really shouldn't be any visual difference other than a different blue T-shirt. Instead of it saying Williamsport Volunteer Fire EMS by the career staff, it's going to say Washington County Division of Emergency Services. So we're very happy with what's going on so far. Great working relationship as we transition to a partnership with the division and with the human resources. And what little time I do have to be around the station, I haven't heard any complaints by the employees. So.
Daggone Will Ball, if you're happy, it must be working. It must be working.
On the police, we're in the deputy program with the Washington County, and it's going really well. So we have a regular full-time staff, we have part-time, and we have guys in here constantly. So it's been really nice working. Good.
Yeah, Deputy Koontz, it's assigned here. He's very community policing oriented. Hopefully you're seeing him in the, in the community. I know that, he's engaged with the mayor and the town manager, and, I think it's a really good relationship going on here.
We also noticed that his reports, meeting after meeting, is he's making a lot of stops. He's out there. The numbers are significantly higher than his predecessor. He's also got crisis training, which is mental health crisis training, which is really essential. And so we're really happy with him. We definitely think he's doing a great job.
Nice.
Okay. Mr. Wagner?
Yeah, he already talked. It's my turn.
Yeah, I think it's your turn.
Well, first I want to thank Williamsport, all the folks that came in, and Bill and the council for inviting us here tonight. Been a pretty good discussion so far. And staff. Oh my, I almost forgot staff. I let me name them now.
Yeah.
But thank you for being here. They beg us every evening meeting to come to these things. So we don't have the heart to say no. So come, just welcome to keep coming. But I was talking to Williamsport. I mean, I got a little bit of a history here. I raised my family here up on Artisan Street, and we talk about everything I'm very familiar with. I forget how many years it was, but 3 daughters. So that's when Tracy Payton, who's retired now, was walking the beat. And I mean walking the beat as a resident deputy. I'd walk with him with my dog, and we'd walk the whole town of Williamsport. And he was a good one for you guys too, if I remember correctly. But and I still, I think I've been accused of trying to live in every municipality because I've been in about 5 or 6 so far. But I think I'm settled in now. But I still I'm here once a week at River Bottom fishing with my grandson. I'll be there tomorrow. So if you want to come down and have a quick meeting about 11:30 maybe. But it's a great town. I'm glad I can be here. And I hope you guys open up with your questions and give us your concerns. or whatever you want to tell us. So that's what we're here for. Appreciate it.
Okay. Well, on behalf of the commissioners and the staff that's here, we just want to say thank you to the town of Williamsport and allowing us to have this joint meeting this evening. For me, I know I gave a report this morning of some of the activities, very busy past 2 weeks, but upcoming, just to keep everyone abreast, we were very fortunate in our community to have the Barbara Ingram School for the Arts, and they do an annual production, if you will, musical and talented. It is second to none. If you've ever gone to it, you think you're in New York City at a professional venue. This year is it's called the Addams Family, and it already looks fabulous. Some of the students are playing the Addams Family parts to perfection. It's going to be hilarious, and I'd just like to encourage, if you can, to buy a ticket to that and support the Barbara Ingram School for the Arts. The other thing that comes to my mind here this evening, one of your very own in this community, conductor Elizabeth Schultz. I'm not quite sure where she lives in Williamsport, but she lives here in town somewhere. She is celebrating her 25th year as conductor of the Maryland Symphony Orchestra. And I'll say that again, the Maryland Symphony Orchestra. Once again, we're blessed in this community to host the Maryland Symphony Orchestra. When you think about that, that's phenomenal. We're not the largest municipality in Maryland. We're certainly not the capital of Maryland, but yet it's part of our community. And Elizabeth lives here in Williamsport. She is celebrating her 25th year with the symphony, and we're begging her to stay and sign up for another 25 years. And on top of all that, in the past few years, she's taken on the conductorship of the Anchorage, Alaska Symphony. I'm not quite sure how she pulls that off, but she does commute back and forth between Williamsport, Hagerstown, and Anchorage, Alaska. I think I'd be on constant jet lag if I tried to pull something like that off, but obviously she's doing a very good job with it. So that's kind of my report. And so I'll give the town council another opportunity. Anything that you can think of or you want to say, or Michelle?
Michelle Ward, County
I'm sorry.
Administrator. I also wanted to thank the town of Williamsport for having us here tonight to discuss important topics to the town. I also want to thank our staff for making sure that they come out to all of our evening meetings. It's important for them to be here. There are experts that you can have them available. It's always a great thing. I am a lifelong resident of Washington County. I grew up in the Fairplay area. I still live in the Fairplay area, which means I graduated from Williamsport High School. Not only am I a Wildcat, but I'm also a river rat. All the way through. Very, very excited to be back. My hometown and my heart is here. Thank you.
With that, we'll open it up to citizens' participation. We have citizens here this evening. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Tom Freeman. I'm the resident here in Williamsport. And I have a question for the commissioners. In light of the building that just collapsed in Hancock, what resources do communities have through the county to help enforce going after blighted and abandoned properties often in right in the towns? To help them, to help us or the town.
Oh, great.
Yeah, great.
Great, please introduce yourself.
I'm Greg Bertrand, Director of Permits and Inspections and the code official for the county. We have reached out to many of the municipalities. I've been here for almost 6 months to address the blight issues that are in the municipalities. For example, the one that happened yesterday, luckily it was not a tragedy, but I've been working with my faith on other issues there. I would say, Mr. Mayor, if you have issues, reach out to me. We're happy. I've got the card. We can discuss, moving forward on issues with that. We're working out some some details to make it, more proactive. So, it's not something I can get changed overnight, but it is something that has been something we've been working towards since I was.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Greg, if you might elaborate a little bit more for everybody, he's asked, what kind of teeth do we have in this? Like, we've never really aggressively checked these bladed properties, to my knowledge. So what kind of powers does the county have with, to do that?
Well, I'll stand over here so I can see everybody. Basically, under, like, for example, yesterday, what happened in Hancock? That really falls under the international existing building code. That in itself, when you talk about the international building code, you talk about the residential code, the trades codes, that addresses an already existing structure. And inside of that, it tells us what you can do, when you have to bring it to code, but more importantly, as the code official for the county, in chapter 1 is the administration, and that's where it gives me, if there's an imminent danger, I can take action. If there's this, I can take action. I am looking into, is there something more that we can put more teeth into? Because the code gives me authority to go to a certain point, but then, it doesn't allow me, it allows me, but it's based off of the law and so forth. So we're trying to come up with something we can put in place that's going to address that. Because no matter where you're at, these are issues, and they've got to be addressed because, we don't want what happened in Hancock to happen, but we need to address these issues.
And I just want to talk about the financial aspect of it a little bit. Typically, the burden of the cost is on the jurisdiction, which would mean the town of Williamsport would be responsible for fronting the cost of that, which is typically $80,000 to $100,000 to raise a building, to demo a building. Now they would be able to recoup that cost because they would then place a lien on the property. They would build the property owner first, and then if the property owner didn't pay, they would need to put a lien on the property. They would get reimbursed once the property would transfer, but there are some financial aspects involved in demoing some of these buildings. It's quite expensive. It's not something that costs, $5,000 to $10,000. It's a $100,000 endeavor. So just want to let you know that there are a lot of financial constraints involved. What we consider.
Beg your pardon. Thank you. Yes. And I guess what could be put in place so that when they get to that point, is there a code or something that I don't know, a regular person like me who walks through town, says, geez, this place looks like it's falling apart or something, and, before it gets ready to collapse. I mean,
I can address that. If you come across, anybody comes across a building that you feel it's vacant, it's abandoned, it looks like there's some issues structurally and so forth, contact my office, Division of Permits and Inspections. We will then take your complaint, and I will tell you, if you make a complaint, we do need your information. You cannot be anonymous, but we do need your information as we move forward. But then that opens up what's called a service request. From that, then I will, based off of the complaint, I'll send one of my inspectors out. They'll do an inspection. Then the next step is, under the code, we follow up with a letter from me, the code official, stating you have so many days to take action upon this. If that's not done, technically, then I can write a civil citation to move forward. In this case, in Hancock, it's a dire situation. So this morning I issued an order to demolish the project, but there is a process that we have to follow. So if you make a service request and the following week you're not seeing any action, we have to follow a process before I can issue a citation or even take somebody to court.
Okay.
So the path of action as for a citizen, what about if simply that's something that the town council themselves wanted to bring forward?
Anybody can bring
Same thing.
Anybody can bring a complaint. The town council, mayor, a citizen, If you see something, you can call my office. You'll speak to my assistant, Ms. Jennifer Malott. She will be the one setting up a service request, but anybody can bring a complaint or a concern about a property.
Thank you.
My apologies. I'm not normally used to a list of citizens' participation. So next up is Mary Haringa.
I'm Mary Haringa. The commissioners normally see me in my professional role, but I'm here tonight as a community member. I live in Williamsport, and I'm the parent of a student at Williamsport Elementary. My husband and I and our family, we just moved here over the summer. We just moved in July. So I do want to say a big thank you to the county and the city and the library for getting the library reopened. When we purchased our house, one of the best things about it was that we can walk to the library. And we haven't been able to do that yet. So we got to last week. So my son and I were very excited to be able to do that. I know my husband went last week as well. So thank you for that. When we moved here from Iowa, when I took the job that I work in, and we had to decide where we were going to live. If we were going to live in Washington County, if we were going to live in a neighboring state or a neighboring county. And we fell in love with Washington County and fell in love with Williamsport, and I'm really happy to be here. And the things that my son has been able to do as an elementary student here are amazing. We left a district that's one of the top 3 or 4 districts in the state of Iowa, and I'm blown away by the things that he gets to do here. One of his teachers here is here tonight. I saw her coming. But within the first couple of weeks, he was getting gifted and talented services. Next year, he's going to be in a magnet program. He gets to join band. He's going to go to see the show at Barbara Ingram. I think they go tomorrow. To go see that. He has been at the planetarium, the outdoor school. I don't think he slept more than a couple hours at a time the night or the week that they went to the sports school because he was so excited. Just absolutely loved it. And so I do want to say thank you to the town and to the county for the things that he gets and the things that he receives that he never would have had we not moved here. I do worry when looking at the budget that we're going to get to a point where some of those things aren't going to be accessible for all of our students anymore. And so I just would really encourage the commissioners to look where you can at the education budget to see what can be given to help the school district and ways that we can keep those programs going. I'm really excited for his future here in the county and the opportunities that he has, and I want to make sure he gets to keep having those opportunities and other kids get to have those opportunities as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Christy Gross. Good evening.
We are actually Clear Spring residents, but we're unable to make your Clear Spring Town Hall, so we came to our neighboring community. But we do come through Williamsport a lot. We shop here, we dine here, we love your downtown. So thank you for making this available for us this evening. So good evening. My name is Christy. My husband and I are both employees of Washington County Public Schools. And in addition to being educators, we are county residents and therefore taxpayers in your constituency. We are here to advocate for adequate funding for Washington County Public Schools. I could begin by sharing stories about how on a daily basis in my job, students are rude, disrespectful, loud, they interrupt learning, and they fail to obey basic instructions given by teachers. But I won't. Instead, maybe I could discuss how so many of today's students are ill-equipped to effectively regulate their emotions or attend to a strenuous academic task because they're addicted to their cell phones and are more apathetic than I have ever seen in my 20 years in education. But I won't. Or I could talk about the fact that our school doesn't even have a full-time school resource officer on site, and that on our campus, and it's not Williamsport, we have frequent fights and recently have had issues with students with weapons and pepper spray, but I won't discuss that either. Speaking of the resource officer, may I inquire as to why Washington County remains the only county in the state of Maryland where the school system must cover resource officer salaries? I truly don't understand why this cost isn't covered by our local government, since resource officers provide a public safety service. No, tonight I'm here to talk about adequate funding. If county revenues are increasing and more money is coming in, it proves the county is doing well, wouldn't you say? The state of Maryland certainly thinks so, as it has slashed planned funding and WCPS is left to frantically restructure its draft budget to compensate for the $3 million less than it expected to receive. This has resulted in WCPS being forced to consider cutting new positions to serve needs in safety, security, and mental health. Why on earth would we want to cut these kinds of positions, given what I have just shared with you about the current state of our schools? In fact, Washington County has increased its public safety spending by 40% since 2020. If Washington County Public Schools was allowed to keep pace with this increase, we would have an additional $30 million in our budget. So why, Board of County Commissioners, should we have to tighten our belts? The reason is plain and simple. Year after year, despite having heard similar messages from other educators and even Dr. Savai himself, you continue to fund us at simply the maintenance of effort level. That's a funny term though, isn't it? Maintenance of effort means providing the very bare amount needed so that WCPS can stay afloat. It's just like asking each of you to eat a diet every day of bread and water. It gets the job done, but it doesn't provide any enrichment or variety. It doesn't allow room for growth or show that much care or consideration has gone into the meal. It's just basic. More insulting than that, than not fully funding the requested WCPS budget every year, is when it's revealed that there is a budget surplus. Millions upon millions of extra dollars that don't even wind up filtering down to our schools during a mid-year budget reallocation. What message does this send to the parents, the students, and the hardworking and dedicated WCPS employees every single year? I know what it tells me, that we're only worthy of bread and water in your eyes. Thank you.
That was good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really nice.
Anyone else under citizens participation? Okay. Hearing none. Mayor, any closing words of thought?
You know, I would like to add that in no conversations, you will make you stand.
Please.
Under no conversations that the council has had have we ever discussed getting rid of or altering the library building. It will always be a one. Second, we are getting ready to pave Concord Street, and any help you could do with possibly putting a weight restriction on Concord Creek Bridge would be nice to try to deter a lot of the fully loaded trucks that come up through there. We get a one-shot chance with our budget at getting the road fixed. You know, we don't have 12 years of putting back to do again. Our belt really is tight. Anything you could help that later on in conversations, I'd like to have them, so we can try to figure that out. The bridge is old, and not to bring up today's tragedy, but our bridges are old around here, and I'd hate to see something happen to that one with the fully loaded dump trucks. That's all.
Andrew, address that at all?
What's that? Yeah, Andrew. Andrew,
We have staff.
can we send that
Have
to?
them review it, we'll have Department of Public Works, see if we can review the weight restrictions on it.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Hearing none. Motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
We'll hear a second.
Everybody wants to stay?
I like it here. I second.
Okay, thank you. We're adjourned. Thanks.